We're good to go. Okay, cool. Also, as a little bonus, because I am doing a giveaway at the end of this training. If you're watching this live, or if you're watching the recording of this, sorry, you don't get to be a part of the giveaway because you're not here, and that's okay. We still love you. Hi, Stella. Ooh, Brownsville, Texas. That's fun. I'm going to Austin in like 12 days. Very excited. I've been to Austin before, but it's been quite a while, so I'm excited. I don't know how far like Austin is from Brownsville, but bonus giveaways. We're gonna do like a thing at the end, but to get bonus like entries in to win, because I'm gonna do like a little spinny thing, you can post this on your story. Actually, yeah. We'll do that and we'll give it a day. That's what we're going to do because I want people to be able to get that chance. Still going to be only people on live. So just need to reward y'all for showing up. And again, no offense to anybody that you're watching the recording. Just want to say, but if you take a picture of this, share a takeaway, whether it's now or at the end, and you post it on your story and tag me, because sometimes people will post and be like, oh, did you see? No, I cannot see it if you don't tag me. So if you want to like take a screenshot, whatever, you can do that. That way you can be entered in to win the giveaway. And then I'm going to share the giveaway on tomorrow through email once I like get everybody's entries in. And we'll also do like a thing at the end to get extra entries as well. So all right, let me share my screen if I can figure out how to do this. Like I don't know how. And if you're hopping on live, share where you're from in the chat. If you have any questions, you can ask them during the presentation. I will scroll up at the end to make sure I don't miss them. But you can wait till the end too. Totally up to you. So, okay. And I have my phone here because I have notes, and that's okay. So if you see me looking down, I'm not like texting my friend. I'm just looking at notes. So, oh my gosh, y'all, I'm so excited to talk about this topic. I have done a few calls recently with people just on imposter syndrome because I've been planning on doing this workshop. I have some things coming up, and I even before I started doing calls and talking to people about this, imposter syndrome just has been coming up consistently. And it's not like imposter syndrome like is a new thing, right? Like it's been around, it's been a thing. And I just think that with social media, and social media has been around for a bit, right? But social media makes it so much easier for us to compare ourselves even more, because that's really a piece of what imposter syndrome is, if you didn't have anybody else to compare yourself to, you wouldn't feel as much of an imposter. I think you can still struggle with imposter syndrome regardless of whether you're comparing yourself to other people, but it's definitely a thing. And so I've just been noticing it coming up so much recently, and people just straight, especially as I've been talking about it more, people have been like DMing me or if I've gotten on calls with them, and they're talking about how debilitating imposter syndrome is. And I'd love for you to share as I'm like, talking about this and kind of starting this presentation, like share in the chat if you want to put one word, if you want to put a sentence, how does imposter syndrome make you feel? Like for me, when I think about it, a lot of words I'm hearing is debilitating. When I think about the times that I've struggled with it, it's exhausting. Exhausting is always, I use that word to describe my OCD, but I find that imposter syndrome can be exhausting for me with my OCD, because I'll have OCD and then I'll latch onto the thought of imposter syndrome, and then it like will just stay in my brain all the time, constantly, and will never go away. And it's just exhausting. So, am I frozen? Am I frozen? Wait. Oh, I thought, LOL. I was like, wait, am I frozen? I got it. Okay, cool. Good thing I checked. I was like, oh no, are we already having technical difficulties? But that's a good word, Melissa. I'm glad I'm not frozen. But yes, okay, frozen, overwhelming, paralyzed, stuck. I know I'm a mess. I'm a mess. It's fine. It's cool. I feel like every time I do a presentation, there's always something silly that I say or happens. And I hope that just like reminds you, like, you don't have to be this like put together perfect person and there's never any issues and whatnot. Like, I think when we have slip ups, or I'll talk to clients who like will record content for social media and they like re-record it like 45,000 times before they actually post it. And I'm not saying you want to put a video on social media or you, and I do want to just say, like, this presentation is not just for like entrepreneurs. There will be a little bit of those things sprinkled in, but this is for anybody struggling with imposter syndrome. But I just kind of want to talk about this because I know a lot of people that do follow me are entrepreneurs. But you don't want to post a video that's just you rambling all over the place for 15 minutes, right? But one, you can edit videos. There's so many ums and likes and things you can edit out. But I think the real and rawness of just showing up as you, which is what we're going to talk about today, is what makes you like resonate with other people. If you show up, let's say you did just show up, and whether you show up perfectly on social media, you show up perfectly as a mom, as you're new to your job, whatever it is, and you show up absolutely perfect, like you're all the like dots are the I's are dotted and T's are crossed and everything's perfect and everything looks great. If that's not really you, you're going to end up either attracting clients you don't want to work with, coworkers you really don't want to be friends with, or people that put more pressure on you because maybe they're super perfectionist, high maintenance, and you're not really like that. But since you're acting like that, you're attracting those. And then in the relationship realm, because we're going to have some metaphors for dating in this presentation, in the dating world, you definitely, I hope not, don't want to attract someone that you date and then you end up not liking them. Because, yeah, you might tick all their boxes, but are you happy? You know what I mean? I think this is the biggest thing that I want to instill with imposter syndrome is if you want to be a perfectionist, if you want to fit into those boxes so you don't feel like a imposter, you feel like the expert, be my guest. But what is the ripple effect that has later on, right? Yeah, perfect. It sounds exhausting. It's not fun. Robs me of embracing my opportunities to grow. Yes, and I'm so glad you said that, Victoria, because I think one of the other things with imposter syndrome that we don't really think about, and I talked about this a little bit on my last podcast episode, but we think about, oh, it's stopping me from doing this and it's stopping me from doing that, and I'm not taking chances. But the things that you want in life, the opportunities that you're looking for to make more money, meet amazing people, have great friends, whatever the thing is that you're chasing after, those opportunities will not show themselves when imposter syndrome is in the way. So not only is it stopping you from doing certain things, but I always use this metaphor with my clients is like maybe door number 4 is the door that you really need to open to crack open life for you, crack open success, money, love, whatever it is, better relationship with yourself, health, mental health. And door number 4 is what you need to open. But you need to open door number 3 and number 2 and number 1. And there's many things, fears, roadblocks, like all of those things that can get in the way of you opening those doors. Imposter syndrome definitely can be one of those because it is debilitating, makes you feel frozen, like all of these things. It's exhausting. And it's not just in the moment. Sometimes we only think about the fears of like how it's affecting us in the moment and not necessarily the ripple effect, because it's very easy as human beings to only think about the short term. This is why, being somebody with ADHD who loves good dopamine hit, I love scrolling and looking at memes. I love TikTok. I love eating sweets. I love everything that gives me dopamine, right? But it's so easy to just focus on how I feel right now in the short term. And so what I really want you to understand as we kind of get into this presentation is just being more aware. If that's the only thing you take from today, is being more aware about the long-term effects of imposter syndrome. Because if you just think day to day, oh, it's stopping me, and like maybe occasionally you think about the long term, but like I want you to think more about the long term than you do the short term. And this is just really important. So let's get into this if my phone would cooperate. Cool, super rad. So hi, I'm Alexis. For those of you who don't know me, I mean, I'm assuming you know me. I don't know how long you followed me, but I have been doing this business for a little over 11 years. I've created a bunch of programs. I am the creator of a new program called From Imposter to Empowerment, which is a 6-week live course where I help people that struggle with imposter syndrome and help them like drop the story, conquer the fear, all the things that we just talked about, and just start showing up unapologetically as their authentic self with confidence, and confidence that feels good, feels like it's not like you're forcing it. I made a post a while ago about this and it got a lot of traction. And I talked about the difference between confidence for yourself and confidence for other people. And sometimes we don't think about that, where it's like, oh, and I'm not bashing your level of confidence. Maybe you've made like leaps and bounds when it comes to your confidence, but check in with yourself to make sure, like, is my confidence from a place of I want to make sure other people see me as confident? Or am I just confident in a room by myself with no one else around me? And there's nothing wrong with like the outside validation. We're human beings, like, we're going to want that. But the goal is to make it so the validation and the way you see yourself in your confidence, in your success, and whatever you're looking at, the way how you see yourself is much higher and much more important than the outside validation from others. I think to say that you can never enjoy validation from other people outside of that is a little silly. Like, we're just going to want that, right? So it's fine if that's the case. But what I want to do tonight is I want to give you the most valuable, important parts of what I teach in things like this. I can't like teach you everything in 60 minutes. Like, I love to, but that would be a lot. Plus it would just be overwhelming. You're going to like get really excited and then you're not going to take action. So I really want to kind of help break down some simple steps and things that you can do and things you can take away. You can take notes if you want. I mean, I'm a big advocate for note taking. But you can also go back and watch the recording because you'll get sent it in an email, and then maybe, take notes then so you can create a little bit of a game plan to implement these things. Because if this is the first time you've ever been on a workshop with me or worked with me in any way, I very much like am adamant about, and this is some tough love. So get ready. There's going to be a bunch of tough love tonight. I am the tough love coach, so it would be wrong of me if I didn't. You could take notes all day long. You can listen to podcasts, you can listen to my podcast, you can watch my YouTube channel, you can watch my content, and you can take notes, you can bookmark, you can say, I'm going to do that. But if all you ever do is take notes, all of that shit is just like words on a piece of paper, and it goes one ear and out the other. And you feel really excited right now. And maybe you'll even feel excited and like motivated tonight and tomorrow. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to conquer this. But if there's no game plan after, if there's no action, if there's no implementation and integration, you end up back in the same place. And that's my biggest thing when I work with people. I do not want you, and it's okay if you fall back into the same place, but I want you to have the tools to get yourself out of it. And that's what's really important. So I want to ask a very important question. I've been asking this to everyone that I've been doing calls with about imposter syndrome. And I want you to be honest. I don't want you to answer in the way that you want to say and the person that you want to be. Obviously, we know that you want to like make leaps and bounds. We love that. But I want you to answer honestly, because the answer I'm getting from most people is nothing, and that's okay. So my question is, what have you done to work on your imposter syndrome? I'm not talking about the things that are kind of like in a Venn diagram with it, where it's like, I've worked on my self-worth and this and that, like my confidence. I'm talking like, I'm going to strictly just focus on imposter syndrome, and that's what I'm going to work on. Whether it be you read a book about imposter syndrome, you journal every day, you do inner child work on imposter syndrome. Have you done anything specifically and put your focus around imposter syndrome, not just like self-worth, things like that? What have you done? And if the answer is nothing, you can put nothing. When I have these calls with people, I'd say 80% of people are like, I've never really like focused specifically on imposter syndrome. And then some other people, there's like another kind of main answer. Nope, nothing, zero. Okay, we love honesty. We love that. We love that. Obviously we don't love the nothing, but that's okay, because when you think about it, I don't think many people think about just like working on imposter syndrome specifically. We kind of just work on the things around it. So work on ownership and not pass it off to luck or someone else. Yes, that's a great one. Ownership, awareness, just like anything around that is a step in the right direction. Nothing, I just tell myself over and over, I got this, until I start to believe it. That's another great one too. Just reflected on it, art therapy, intuitive painting, inner child healing. So yeah, so all of these things are great. And so something that I want to chat about tonight is taking it from, just because another answer I hear often, probably the other answer I hear the most outside of nothing, is I've just been trying to shift my perspective, which is still a really great answer. And I think that's like a step in the right direction. But what I find is people are working on the symptoms of imposter syndrome and kind of like the surface level things that are going on with it, which is that like shifting the perspective versus the root of it. And that's kind of what we're gonna get into today. Talked about therapists with it. Yeah, great thing to do. We love that. Wait, what was the other one? Where did that go? Have sat and felt into it and love the part of me that feels into imposter syndrome, but honestly, only like one time. Yes. And that's like such a big one I talk about a lot. everybody that's on this call has understands like the work in some capacity, right? You've done the things, you are familiar with it. But what I find with a lot of people is they kind of just do it once. I love inner child work, but when I talk to people and I'm like, have you done inner child work? They're like, yes. And I'm like, okay, how often? And it's not like something you got to do every single day. But if you only write a letter to your younger self one time and think that that's automatically going to heal all of your trauma, you know what I mean? I love those exercises. You don't have to write a letter every day, but it's like different kinds of work within that space and consistently working on that I think makes like a big difference. So, oops. So what I want you to share what your guess is. You don't have to get this right because this is my opinion. I feel like there's not a right answer to this. This is just my answer to it. But to this question, what do people want when we think of the opposite of imposter syndrome? What would that be? And so you can see in the corner it says hint, it's one word. When you think of like what would be the opposite of imposter syndrome, what would be the word that comes to mind? Ooh, look at you guys. Confidence, you got it right away. Embodiment is also a really great word. We want to embody the confidence, but yes, confidence. Normally I would think perspective is the root. So Stella, that could be, but that's not the case for everyone. I find that working with a lot of people, whenever they say they're shifting the perspective, they can sometimes identify the root of where that imposter syndrome comes from and then shift that perspective. But a lot of times it's kind of just in the moment, like, you know, oh, I'm a fraud. And then they're just trying to shift the fact to shift to like thinking that they're not a fraud instead of like thinking about, well, where did that story come from in the first place? Where are you feeling that in your body? Like those kinds of things. It's just going a little bit deeper. So it could be, but yeah. Authenticity, we love that too. That's another great word. But yeah, so the word, and any of these words would fit, but confidence was the word, you know, that I was essentially thinking of. And so again, you can answer in here. Why is it so hard to have confidence when you allow imposter syndrome to run the show? So I have some answers that I've collected, some common reasons for this. So kind of these two questions, I'll share both of them. So one is, why is it so hard to have confidence when you allow imposter syndrome to run the show? And then why does everyone love authentic and confident people yet can't find a way to do it themselves? Like we so much love when someone like is just like confident and embraces that shit, but like a lot of times we find it hard. So you can answer one or two of these, both of them, it doesn't matter. But I'm curious what you think. So why is it so hard to have confidence when you allow imposter syndrome on the show? And then why does everyone love authentic and confident people yet can't find a way to do it themselves? Self-doubt, self-judgment is so real. Yes, that's such a big one because like we think about like comparison, and that's obviously there as well. And they could, again, be like a little bit of a Venn diagram, but like the self-judgment is such a big one because we put, as being someone who has OCD and like literally my OCD loves to do that to myself constantly judging myself. Like we put so much fucking pressure on ourselves all the time to like perform. And there's a reason why. I'll ask my clients, like, you know, when they're perfectionists, because majority of my clients are perfectionists, like, where does that thought come from? Or where does that story come from? And all of them just want to blame themselves. And I'm like, you did not wake up one day as a little child and just all of a sudden become a perfectionist. There is some person, some story, some voice, something in society, some experience. And even if it wasn't somebody directly telling you you needed to be perfect or you needed to be a certain way, there could still be something that happened, like, you know, for example, maybe your parents got divorced and like you tried to be perfect and be really good in school because you thought you could save the marriage. Like there's so many different things like that. But gosh, we'd sure just love to like blame ourselves for everything. We blame ourselves for the things that aren't even our fault. You know what I mean? Simply lack confidence or feel failure, being so much harder on ourselves than others even are, self-judgment, being super critical, also unrealistic image of how perfect others are. Yes. Oh my God, Stella, that's a really, really great one. All of these are really great, but that's a really great one. And that's like the whole idea when we look on social media and we just see the highlight reel of like what everybody's doing, right? And it's so easy to look at that. And that's why I started my new YouTube channel and my TikTok called The Failure Diaries. And I share vulnerably, especially if you followed me for a bit, I'd share that way on my page anyway, but I wanted a page that was literally just dedicated to me only sharing the, not in like only sharing the negatives, but just sharing the failures so much that it's like desensitizing people from being like, oh, well, big deal, right? We love their energy because it's magnetic and it can be hard to achieve because we compare ourselves to others. Yes, and that's such an important one. Like we love seeing people who are authentic and confident because they are magnetic. But I think this is where the imposter syndrome comes in, because I talked to somebody the other day and they were saying that they felt if they did show up authentically and confident, that it would come off too cocky or they would be judged for it. And so again, it goes back to, you can kind of see this common theme is we are very much fixated on like what other people think about us, which is normal, right? But so some of the answers that I wrote down, and these are some of like the ones that I've come up on my own or just ones I've heard from other people, but um one is like imposter syndrome holds you back from speaking confidently because it zaps all the belief that you are as good as you say you are. And so then you end up second guessing yourself. And then you can also be like constantly on edge that someone's going to catch you and like out you as not good as you say they are. And what happens when this happens, and I think this is why it affects like the confidence piece, is this leads to an energy of desperation or worry or constantly like thinking that like your messaging or your conversations. And again, this can apply to like you on social media as an entrepreneur or just you as a mom or you talking to your partner. Like there's this feeling of what's this person going to think of me? Or you kind of script things in your head of what they're going to say and what you're going to say. And it's just all that energy could be spent in a million other different ways. And when you take that energy and you think about putting it towards positive things or thinking differently, that's going to have an outcome as well. So you don't want to just think, oh, imposter syndrome is affecting me and it's going to make me feel not great. And then I can't do this and then that. It's like what could I do with the energy that I'm using to exhaust myself thinking all of these things that you guys are sharing, like comparing yourselves to other people, all of those things. I also find that with like that energy expenditure, it's like you spend a lot of time trying to prove yourself. And like the whole idea of like liking how people are authentic and confident, you might feel like you just don't know how to be authentic, which is crazy when you think about it. But I hear this a lot. Like people don't know how to like be authentic. And like if there's one tip I can give you, again, this might be a little bit more related to like entrepreneurs, but you can still think how to apply this to yourself, is like when you're making content, like on my stories and on my, feed, I just am talking to the camera as if I'm FaceTiming with my best friend. And so when you think about in relationships, if you maybe have imposter syndrome in the sense of like you, or maybe even in the dating world, that you're not as good as a partner as you should be, or you're not cool enough for this person to like you or whatever. And I think when it comes to those situations, again, just showing up as if you were talking to your friend. Of course, when you're first dating someone, there's going to be a little bit of a mask. Like we can't necessarily help that. We're like a peacock trying to like show off the best version of ourselves. But I think there's that piece, but then people are also afraid because if they do show up, I think it's less of like, I don't know how to be authentic. It's I'm afraid if I am authentic and I let my walls down and I'm completely vulnerable, people won't like that. And I think this is a very important distinction for you to understand. Notice that whenever imposter syndrome comes up in any way, or you're afraid to be your authentic self, and you feel like, do I know how to like really be authentic? Is it really that? Or are you just afraid that if you are authentic, someone's not going to accept you for who you are? I was bullied from like second grade all the way to sophomore year of high school. So believe me, I've had to work through a lot of shit to like think that people, like one of my stories, I like did this in existential kink. It's so silly when it comes out of my mouth. But it's a thing. I work through it, is everybody hates me and is pretending to like me. So like I think like my friends, people I might like date, they're just like being nice to me just because they feel bad for me. How sad is that? Not cool, right? It doesn't feel good. And so I had to identify that to understand that that could be something that stops me from showing up authentically. Not that I don't know how to be relatable. Yeah, I feel you. Not that I don't know how to be, but I'm afraid to let my walls down. But what happens? What does the world look like if I do let my walls down? And then like leaning into that, right? Okay. Let's get this out of the way. So tell me if any of these that I share sound like you. I'm assuming it's going to be yes, because we've kind of talked about them, but I just kind of want to like reiterate them before we get into this nitty gritty. Why would I post this, do this, try this? if someone else is already doing it. Side note with this one, do you know how much this stops you? Like people want to learn from you. And again, whether you're an entrepreneur, maybe you are new to a career, maybe you're just a mom. There's other moms that want to like learn from you. There are things that you know, even if you are a brand new mom, that you can share a perspective that no one else can have. And we allow imposter syndrome to get in that because, oh, I'm a new mom. I don't know as much as somebody who has 3 kids. Yeah, they of course are going to know more than you. They have more experience, but you have a perspective that might be new and fresh that they haven't thought of. And when imposter syndrome gets in the way, that stops us so much. People vibe with your energy. I shared this story with people too, but because I do my little like shuffling dance thing in the morning, I used to, if you followed me for a while, like, I don't know, like 5 years ago or so, I was posting like consistent shuffling videos like on my page, just like it was, I don't know, it was just like a part of what I did. I did a lot more fitness. So I kind of like shared it more as a fitness thing. And people were asking me like, please do shuffling videos, like do tutorials, teach us how to do it. And I was like, there's a million videos on YouTube. I'm not a dance teacher. I don't know how to teach what I'm doing. I just do it. And I learned on my own. But then I decided to hold a workshop and a bunch of people got on and people learned and people were messaging me like, oh my gosh, I've taken classes before, I've watched videos before, but like the way you teach really helped it click for me. Or the way you said something really helped it click. And this is so important. I'm gonna give you another piece of tough love. And I don't say this in a Debbie Downer way. I say this in like a hopefully make you feel better way. Everything's already been done for the most part. If you're a coach, if you're a therapist, if like everything's already been done and said for the most part. Nothing I'm going to post on Instagram for the next 5 years is going to be brand new information, but it's my perspective. It's my energy. It's my vibe. It's the way I say it. And it's the right exact time that someone sees it, that it clicks. Same thing with being a mom. Maybe you tell your kid something 45,000 times and then the 46,000th time they get it. So just don't allow that imposter syndrome. We're going to be talking about how to work through it, but just remind yourself how much it holds you back from allowing those things to happen. So another thing, maybe you have persistent self-doubt about your abilities and accomplishments. We kind of already talked about that. So, that's a big one. You constantly feel like a fraud, even when people compliment you or recognize you. I don't know if you guys struggle with this one. It's like women especially find it so hard to accept a compliment. It's like, oh, I like your shirt. It's like, oh no, it's got like a stain on it. It's like old. I thrifted it. Or it's like, your hair looks really good today. And it's like, I don't know. I like have some great, it's like, just accept the compliment, girl. You know? It can be so hard. Like we don't even think how much like this imposter syndrome creeps in, even in just like your everyday arena, right? Maybe you feel the need to overachieve and compensate for how much you suck. I'm not saying you suck. We tell ourselves that, right? And this is such a big one because we allow ourselves to let that perfectionism creep in. And even if you don't consider yourself a full-blown perfectionist, I do find that a lot of people have perfectionist tendencies. And this goes back to the words we talked about before. It's exhausting. Oh my God. Do you know how exhausting it is to constantly feel like you have to overcompensate? Like, what if you just went like the next 6 months doing your best, but you didn't try to overcompensate? You didn't try to overachieve. You just said, I'm going to do, I bet if you did that, you'd be less burnout. You'd feel better. And you actually would want to do whatever it is that you're trying to do. If you're working on a project or you're working your business or whatever, you'd be more inclined to do it because you're not teaching your nervous system that, hey, every time we do a task, we have to overachieve. So I'm teaching you, my nervous system, that we are going to burn you out. So when you try to accomplish things in the future, you protect me by shutting down and going into freeze mode and being like, nope, we're not going to do anything. You're going to sit on the couch and think about all the things you have to do, but not be able to get up. That's because you're teaching your nervous system that when we do tasks, we overcompensate, and that means we get burnout. So this is another like really important thing to understand. Okay, cool. I want to move through this so we make sure we're on the right time, but I love it. Keep the chat box going. You have a fear of being exposed as a fraud. I think this is like a big one that stops people from doing things, especially like on social media and in business, because you are afraid that if you talk about a certain topic that you might have the answers wrong. I had somebody I was talking to recently that said like every time they post something, whether it's before or after they post, they'll go to Google and like Google and research things even more just to like double check and triple check to make sure that like what they posted wasn't the wrong information. And like I understand that to a certain extent, like wanting to make sure you're not putting like false information out there. But like, if you feel confident in what you're putting out, most of the time, like, you don't need to drive yourself crazy, like re-looking at things. And if you did post something that was incorrect and somebody said something, you can have a normal conversation about it and be the person that says, I want to just be a student. I never want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to be a student. A lot of people say that, but they don't mean it, because they say they never want to be the smartest person in the room. They really want to learn from everybody, but they're not doing things that will prove that they're not the smartest person in the room. Something to think about. Obviously, always comparing yourself to others. We already talked about that. Think that everything good that happens to you is just luck. I've heard this from a lot of people. Not everybody resonates with this one, but it's like, oh, well, it's kind of like not being able to accept a compliment. Oh, that only happened because like it was just luck, or this person helped me, or you're kind of just like putting off your accomplishments like onto something or someone else. Maybe you set ridiculously high standards for yourself that you would never set for a friend. Right. So I think somebody even said that in the chat box earlier. And you couldn't accept a compliment to save your life, which we kind of already talked about, but yeah. So another one, you hold back because you don't want to come across as too cocky, which is another one we already shared. So those things, I'm sure we've all experienced them, right? But who likes metaphors? I love metaphors. I love teaching in metaphors. So we're going to talk about two different stories that I think are helpful. I find that metaphors can help really just stick ideas into your brain when they're kind of separate from what we're actually talking about. And so being someone who is, I guess, newly single, I got a divorce last year and like I asked for it in January. So it's been over a year since I asked for it, but I've been single essentially, and I'm not really dating, but like kind of, but not really. And so I see a lot of dating TikToks, like, or Instagram, or dating TikTok, dating Instagram, whatever. And so I see a lot of things. And what I realized recently, and I don't know if this is going to like make sense or resonate with anybody. Even if you're not single, I think it still can. But I don't think, I just brought this up to a friend. She was like, I've never thought about that. And so what I notice is that in modern dating, with all of the knowledge we have now with dating coaches and like there's these two people I really like, this guy Nico and this woman Sabrina. She has like a Do the Work podcast. You've probably seen them both if you're single. If you're not, you probably haven't. But they both are like dating coaches. They're not like relationship coaches, they're dating coaches. And what I realized, and the things I'm learning, being someone who's been in a relationship my entire life and have never dated, I've never really dated. I've just been relationship. This is the first time I've ever been like single, really. I'm learning a lot about the dating world that I never really thought about it. And if you think about it, all the things that they're teaching us, like, especially women, like how to avoid fuckboys and how to know if you're on a roster and how to know if a guy's breadcrumbing you. Like, without social media, we would not know any of that shit, like, at all. And so there are people that are sharing this information and giving us tools to be able to navigate this world. And so, and this is all going to connect in a second, because you're probably like, what the fuck is she talking about? So before, like, women didn't have all of those tools and the information that they needed, and they were more easily falling for like shitty partners and shitty men, right? And so I'm not saying that it's not impossible to still get played, but it's much harder when you are like, oh, I never really thought about how to like pay attention to that, or what's a green flag and a red flag and all of these things. And you still need to take it with a grain of salt, of course. But the reason I bring this up is because when you have tools that help you navigate what's actually going on in your brain, it's much easier for you to avoid falling into these traps with imposter syndrome, perfectionism, not showing up as your authentic self. When you kind of like know, like, you kind of looking at your imposter syndrome, like, I see your red flags. Like, you can't really hide from me. But when you don't have as many tools and as much information, it's much easier to kind of like fall off the wagon. So this is why it's just really important to have these tools. So the other thing I want to talk about, and all of this is going to come together, it'll make sense. And this is more in the realm of the second piece of the workshop, which is like the embracing your authentic self. So did you know, and maybe you did, this might seem like pretty obvious, but I want to give you another metaphor, or another story, essentially, that if you imagine yourself doing something, it's more likely to happen, good or bad. It's kind of like whether you believe you can or you can't, it's true. But for example, like if I'm going snowboarding and the whole time I'm going up the lift and going up the mountain, if I keep thinking about me falling, I have a higher chance of me falling. But if I think about me doing like a backflip and all this crazy shit, like I'm probably not going to do a backflip because I don't know how, but I'm more likely to like crush it. And so there's this story. I was trying to find an article of it so I could make sure I had all the details right, but I couldn't find it. But I know it's a real story because I read about it in a book. And there was this story about this Olympic diver who was training for the Olympics, and he was training and training and training and training. And at the end of his training day, every single day when he would train, he would do his last dives and like close his eyes and imagine that it was like the end of the Olympics and the USA was losing to China by like 1 gold medal. And he had 1 dive left and he had to nail it. It had to be perfect. It had to get 10 out of 10 in order for him to get the gold. And he would do this every single day at the end of his training days for months, probably years, because like think about how long they trained for the Olympics. And then what happened was in the Olympics, I forget what year it was, but USA was down to China by 1 gold medal and he had to have a perfect dive. All that he imagined actually ended up happening, and he hit the dive and they ended up winning, which is just so crazy. And the reason why I bring this up is because if you are consistently fixated on everything that we just talked about, all of the limiting beliefs and negative things, if you're constantly thinking about those and you don't have the right tools, you don't have the accountability, you don't have the guidance, you don't have and I'm not just thinking about like the positive things, but if you don't know how to navigate that, it's going to be so much easier for you to create that reality, not because you deserve it, but because that's just what your brain is fixated on. But if you envision everything that's the opposite of imposter syndrome, like confidence and your authentic self and you showing up authentically, letting your walls down, being vulnerable, and people loving that shit, which spoiler alert, that's probably going to happen. And there's going to be people that think you're cringe and people who don't like you. You know how many people think I'm probably cringe for singing to the camera and dancing around every morning, drinking my pre-workout? I don't give a shit because there's so many of you that love it. I have like a few people that will like send me videos of like their little, like this one mom sends me like a video or whatever of her kid in the morning, and he asks to see my videos because he knows I dance in the morning, and he like dances with me, and I'm like, oh my God, that's so cute. Like that, I'll take 10,000 people thinking I'm cringe, and if I make that little boy happy, hell yeah. And like if you fixate on those things, it's very easy to fixate on the negative, and I'm not blaming you, but if you focus on those other things, you're going to end up winning a gold medal in the Olympics. Just kidding. But really. So both of these stories are just simply proof that if you don't have the right mental tools and the good structure, you're bound to just stay stuck. Because most of you guys are aware of the imposter syndrome. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. But my goal is to help you navigate this. So, whoops, spelling error. That's cool. But if you don't have the tools and the accountability to help navigate the imposter syndrome, show up confidently and unapologetically, I think this word is so important. Unapologetically as yourself, you're going to be stuck in the same place, worried about the same thing, about not being an expert, and never be able to be the real you. And you're going to feel like you're wearing a mask your whole life. And we're going to talk about this not being an expert thing. We're going to have some tough love piece on that. So we're going to come back to that. But if you do, you go from imposter, and not being an imposter, but like even worried about it, to empowered. All of a sudden, everything's going to feel much easier. It's going to feel second nature. And that's really my goal with everything that I help people with, because I'm about simplicity. You're going to take more risks, which leads to more opportunity. And then the confidence just oozes out of your ears naturally without you forcing the confidence. You see what I'm saying? And this is what we're getting into. And then you're going to make a shit ton of money and see more success in just like all areas of your life, right? So, whoopsie. So let's talk about these 3 things that I feel like are very important to help you do all of this. Because you're like, cool, Alexis, you're talking about all of it, but what do I actually do? And I hope to this point, I've given you, maybe some perspective in order to shift that. But let's get actually into the things. So number 1 is going to be uncover the kink and eject the ego. So I didn't used to call this kink, this like process like kink, but then I read the book Existential Kink and I was like, I've been thinking about this. Not like I wrote the book, but I was like, this girl gets it. This is what's been in my head. And if you haven't read Existential Kink, essentially, to like keep it short and sweet, it's the idea that wanting is evidence, or having is evidence of wanting. So if you have negative things in your life, if you you're not making money, if you're in a relationship that you don't want to be in, having those things is evidence that deep down you actually want those things. Now, not that you want to be broke or you want to be in a shitty relationship. You want what the thing is going to give you. So I've talked about this a bit, but like if you don't have, you maybe you're not making the money you want, you're constantly living paycheck to paycheck. You may be addicted and have like a kink for not having money, but what the not having money is giving you, which is a problem to solve constantly. Maybe you're addicted to chaos because of trauma and chaos is your comfort zone. And so if you stay broke, you always have a problem to solve. You always have chaos in your life because if you had the money and it was just peace and calm, could you actually be comfortable or would you go crazy because it was calm? Like, yeah, I know you're probably thinking, no, money would solve everything. And yeah, it definitely does help with things, but that you could be staying in the same place because you have this desire to keep in your comfort zone. And so this is essentially like this process is about, and especially this first piece, this like uncovering the kink, is about helping you get to the root of where the imposter syndrome is hiding and find out what you actually are doing by allowing the imposter syndrome to stay. So think about that and share in the chat box. And this is like obviously like a deeper process that we have to go through. We don't have time to totally do it today, but this is why I'm giving you it as a tool because you can, go journal on it and navigate it yourself. But think about what is imposter syndrome possibly giving you that you might like when I kind of like I was just sharing about like you might be addicted to chaos, you always have a problem to solve. What could having imposter syndrome be giving you? Like maybe it could, and share in the chat box if you think of this is definitely something that you might not have an answer right away. And this is why, you can work to do the work, but it could be that by allowing yourself to stay in imposter syndrome and like not be the expert, you don't have to learn more. You can just, because if you go to learn more and educate yourself more, that takes work. And if I can just be afraid of it, then I can just not do the work. Or you can stay small because you might have a fear of success. And because if you might actually know that if you kicked imposter syndrome out the fucking window, you'd be successful. You have so much potential and you're just going to stay in imposter syndrome because it allows you to keep it as a crutch. So then you never have to get out of it. Keeping me in the comfort of my full-time job and not taking it all on myself without that cushion. Yes, that I talk about that so much. Most people aren't successful in business or in many things because they always have a plan B. They have the job, they have the thing, but imagine if you woke up tomorrow and the only thing that could make you put food on the table, feed your family and not like, be living on the streets was your business or that thing that you want to work on. You'd figure it out. You'd have to. It'd be the only option. Most people are not uncomfortable enough, and this is very important to do that. So that's just something to think about that I think that alone can take you leaps and bounds because then you can navigate, okay, what's underneath it. And you also want to like identify the root of it, which is just like, where did the imposter syndrome come from? Was it like your grandma telling you that you constantly have to have this and that? And when you got to go to school and you got to get married and then you have the kid, you know what I mean? You can identify that, but we already kind of know that this is an important, I think, uncovering the kink. So the second piece of this, ejecting the ego, this is where the tough love conversation is going to come in. This is the toughest love piece of tonight. So just be prepared. Is when you focus on wanting to be the expert, it can mean, and I understand you can still care. So like take this with a little bit of a cushion. But it can mean that you are caring more about looking like an expert or like just being the best than actually taking care of who you are serving. So like if you're an entrepreneur and you're constantly so worried about like being the expert, why are you so concerned about being an expert when you need to serve your people regardless? You got to show up. If you're dealing with it as a mom, you're so concerned about like being the perfect mom or being the perfect person at your job, whatever, that you're not focused on like being there for the people that need you. Because again, all that energy expenditure is on, I gotta look like the best. I gotta be the best. And like your kid, your clients, your whoever, they don't need you to be the best because you don't need them to be the best. So why would they need you to be the best? You want to do your job, but you don't need to be an expert. And so this is where the ego gets in the way. And again, this energy expenditure. And so it's really important to have that tough love conversation. And yeah, it's unless you want to be Buddha it's impossible for you to just kick your ego completely out the door. But you definitely want to be able to have that awareness that the ego might be running the show. And I think that alone can be a little bit of a wake up call. So, second thing, I love comfort zone checklist. This is something I do with all of my clients. I do in my program, like all of the things. Also, actually, I wanted to share one more thing with this. So, if you don't know what the kink is, I saw that some of you shared in there, but I want to make sure we're on time because we're pushing it on time. But if you don't know what your kink is, here's what will probably happen. You're going to keep working on the symptoms of imposter syndrome instead of the root of the problem, which might keep imposter syndrome around longer. You might try to positively affirm and like bookmark the really, put a wallpaper on your phone. And I'm not making fun of it, but like that alone is not, that can just like, you're just going to like positively affirm your mindset differently and then have it not work. And then you're confused as why it's not working. Those can be beneficial, but that's why I highly recommend reading the book Existential Kink, or just doing this kind of work. So it's just important that you remind yourself that this is essentially a thing. But another thing that can happen is you might allow others to take your ideas because you never started, which I'm not saying push yourself and go super fast, but it's just something to think about. And then you're going to sit on all that potential and never start. And so there is an exercise. I don't think we're going to necessarily have time to do it. I wanted to see if we have time, but we're already a little bit past the time. But something I want you to do, and I'll include this in the email. That way you can practice this on your own. But you want to navigate, like, when you think about imposter syndrome and where you feel it in your body and what feelings and emotions come up, it's like allow, because I think somebody kind of shared it in the chat box too. Instead of trying to push imposter syndrome out, it's like, I'm allowed to feel this way. I'm allowed to want to stay in this comfort zone. I'm allowed to want to latch onto imposter syndrome. And it's okay that I want to stay in this place. But because we want to bring that unconscious feeling to the surface and allow ourselves to feel it and come to it from a place of compassion instead of trying to push it out. You'll have a much different experience, but I'll share this in the email after the presentation. So I keep calling it presentation. It sounds so weird. Workshop, whatever, who cares? So create a comfort zone checklist. So this is so powerful in my opinion. It's one of my favorite things. And so with this, and I do this in my program, but too many times I talk to people and when I ask them, like, what have you done to work through imposter syndrome? They're typically saying things like, just shifting perspective, which is something we already talked about, right? And this is like, while that does work and is beneficial, we need to challenge that part of us. Like, this is where we go from just like therapy talking about like, where does imposter syndrome come from and all those things, and challenging what's actually going on. And this is where accountability definitely is really huge. Even that's just with like a friend. It doesn't even have to be with a coach. But so within my clients and inside my program, like I like to help them create a comfort zone checklist in an actual worksheet. But what it typically looks like is like, on the back of a hot sauce bottle, and it's like, this is 1 level spicy and 2 level spicy and 3 level spicy. Instead of doing the biggest thing that's going to make you super scared, you take that thing and you say, okay, what are 5 things that I can do that build up to this? That way you can do them over the course of a few weeks and then build up thick skin. So then by the time you get to the scariest thing, you can tackle that, right? So you want to identify what you need to challenge that's in your comfort zone related to imposter syndrome. So all those limiting beliefs, all those things we talked about, you identify a lot of those and then break them down into digestible steps. And I also recommend setting a date next to them. So it's not just like a pipe dream or you like write it on your vision board and never touch it again. But when you do something different, and you're doing these small steps, you create an interruption in your normal pattern, a way you've been handling things. Like if you have imposter syndrome, you have a way that you handle things. The fear comes up and then you stall. The fear comes up and then you overcompensate. There's something that you're doing. So we need to create an interruption in the pattern of what you've been doing. And so, because right now you're teaching your nervous system that it's, you want to teach your nervous system that it's okay to not be an expert, to be weird as fuck, to be raw, to not wear a mask, to learn as you go. And you can tell yourself all day long to believe that, but in order to actually change it, you have to take action to change the behavior. And this is why I like doing this comfort zone checklist. And then, of course, somatic work is really important to make sure that you feel safe when it gets scary. If you start to feel overwhelmed when you start doing things that are outside your comfort zone, whether you're the kind of person that wants to breathe and kind of center yourself, or like for me, the way I like make myself feel safe and move my nervous system is I like to move. So when I start to get like anxious, I don't want to breathe. Breathing does help, but I like to move. Like I'll dance around and move my arms. I'll like, do what I need to do. So that's just important that you do that as well. So third thing, mask off. Fuck it, mask off in my future voice. This is the third thing that I think is really important. And this is with my ICB roadmap. So I teach this in all of my programs. It's identify, confront, breakthrough. So with this, whoopsie, just kidding. In with identify, confront, breakthrough, this isn't about like, or with them getting the mask off specifically, it's not about trying to do anything, to try to get the mask off. It's kind of the opposite. It's more of completely letting go and just existing and surrendering, which like is really hard. Again, I have OCD, like surrendering is extremely hard for me. But there's things you can do to help you do that essentially. So just like the comfort zone list, we need to slowly, piece by piece, challenge the part of you that is struggling to get the mask off. So another thing I want you to share in the chat. What are you afraid will happen if you show up fully, vulnerably as yourself? Like, what are you afraid will happen? And don't want you to say the good things, because we could, of course, think of lots of good things that'll happen. I'm talking like, think about the thing that you're afraid of being really vulnerable in a conversation with a partner, in dating, being a mom, at your job, in your business, on social media, whatever comes up. What are you afraid is going to happen? Rejection, people won't like me, people will hate me, being judged, isolation, won't be liked, won't be accepted. Yes. So we can see, again, this is why I like to chat about this in this way, is because if you look at all of these, what is the theme of all of this? It's how other people perceive us, right? Which makes sense with the question. I mean, like, you can't think about being vulnerable with yourself, which some people even have a hard time doing that too, but rejection, or they will like me and I will have a new responsibility to someone else. Great point. That's back to the fear of success. A lot of people talk about fear of failure, but I think more people have a fear of success. All of these are just are great. We don't want them, but they're great answers. So that's the understanding that like that's going to be the thing that is going to make it difficult for you to take the mask off is what you can focus on instead of just focusing on imposter syndrome. Focus on the root of your fear of rejection. Where does your abandonment or rejection wounds come from? Where does the idea that people will hate you come from? Like, so instead of, again, just focusing on the imposter syndrome, focus on those. And that's where it's going to help it make it easier for you to take that mask off. So with my ICB roadmap, step one is going to be identify where the belief came from and directly challenge it with proof. And this is proof that it doesn't have to be the case. You probably have proof that like all of these things could happen, that you could be yourself and people won't like you. Who cares? Obviously easier said than done, but this is why we need to challenge it. So we need to challenge it with proof. So, and even if you have proof that like negative things could happen, I want you to lean into the worst case scenario. I do this with my clients a lot. I'll ask them, okay, what are you afraid is going to happen? You get rejected. Now what? What happens after you get rejected? And they're like, then I'll feel this way. Okay, what happens if you feel that way? And then we just go down as far as we can until you realize you won't die. You won't die. Like you might feel not great, but if you put yourself through all of that, you're going to build major thick skin. And I promise you, and we just talked about worst case scenario. That's probably not even going to happen. So it's why important that we bring it up. But so identify where it came from, and then we want to directly challenge it with proof that can be different. So this can be looking on social media or talking with friends or whatever you need to do to find proof that like positive things can happen. You see me every day acting a fucking fool on my social media. I'm proof that you can be weird and still be successful. And like, I'm sure there's people that don't like me, but I'd rather hang out with you guys. I mean, hopefully you like me. I mean, if you don't, that's cool. But like, I'd rather like hang out with people that do like me. It's gonna be much more fun, you know? So step 2 for the confront piece is confront the parts of you that are scared to show up authentically, which is kind of like what we're sharing in this chat box here is like, and when I say confront, I don't mean like battle and fight. I mean more so in the sense of like, to have a conversation with that part of you, navigate that relationship. Where do you feel it in your body? See if you can sit with that feeling and not run from it. Because a lot of times we're always trying to psychoanalyze our experience, and we want to sometimes just feel it. And then step 3 is to create a game plan. This is the breakthrough part, is to create a game plan that works for you on how to show up authentically. So another question, this will be like the last question. We're almost done here. We probably only need like 10 more minutes. So if you have to hop off, but I will be doing the giveaway at the end, so keep that in mind. But we're almost done here. So I think this is probably the last question I'll ask you, but like, what does showing up authentically look like to you? If you were to start showing up authentically, again, in all the areas that I've been talking about, what would that look like for you? And you're not going to list all of them, because this would be a great question to journal on. What would showing up authentically look like for you? And this is, again, when people work with me, I really try to I love therapy. I'm a huge advocate for therapy. But I like to take it from let's just talk about it to let's do something about it. And so when you say, what does showing up authentically look like to me? Let's do that this week. This goes back to the comfort zone checklist, but let's do that this week. Let's do it even with the fear. I would speak with more authority, experience more joy. I would use my voice more, being confident, trying new things without fear, feeling empowered. We love all of these. These sound so rad. The cool thing about this is you can do that this week. You could do it tomorrow. And you can still do it even if you have the fear. But if you start showing up and doing these things, speaking your mind, talk so much, and then do it and experience whatever negative backlash you're afraid you're going to experience, which probably won't be a lot, but maybe it would. But even if you experience it, it's only going to help you build thick skin. You're going to naturally start to do things differently. And I know this is difficult. That's why accountability is so important, but it's very much the doing. Action breeds confidence, not the other way around. So, that feeling when you like are in the car by yourself, especially when you're not like in the city and maybe you're where no one can see you. Nobody's going to like pull up to your car and see you, and you're just singing and you're dancing and you're having a blast. That is what I want everybody to experience when it comes to like imposter syndrome and showing up as your authentic self. The ability, like if you park next to me, I might make eye contact with you and dance with you. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make you uncomfortable. Like, I'm going to have my windows down and I'm going to be singing and I can't sing. And so that's like the most freeing thing. And that might be on your comfort zone list, like all the way up here. I'm not saying you have to do that, but that feeling is what I want for everybody. That feeling, but on social media, that feeling as a mom, that feeling in any area of your life. And like, even ask yourself that question is like, what is the equivalent of that in my life? And you don't have to answer that, but like, I think that'd be a good thing to do. And this is why, like, I'm just so passionate about all of this stuff. So I'm curious, are you guys down to hear me share about my new program, Imposter to Empower, or from Imposter to Empowered? You don't have to hang around, but I do want to share about it because I am really passionate about this. Yay. Okay, cool. We love it. And like I said, I only need like 5-ish minutes, and you guys are going to get like, it's not starting until May. So we have some time, but you guys are getting like super early bird in there. And I wanted to create something. I haven't had something that's like very accessible. I have lots of things that are accessible, but I wanted something that was like very simple and sweet. So we're just going to get into it. So okay, cool. So I've already mentioned it, but in case you didn't hear me, it's from Imposter to Empowered. So it's a 6-week live course. And so with this, there's a few things that I want to do. So everything that we talked about, all of these steps, and you could take this presentation and you could go do all of these things on your own, 100%. But this is where the accountability piece is going to come into actually doing these things. So we're going to finally get to the root of the imposter syndrome. And some of you might already know that root, but we're going to do some of that like little kink work, and stop letting it run the show so you can think more clearly. What was I talking about earlier? That like energy expenditure of you putting it all everywhere else. So whether you want to launch your ideas, and this is not just for entrepreneurs, this is for anybody. There's going to be like a business add-on if you want to do something like social media related, but like all of this stuff is going to be, just like you saw this whole presentation, it will be accessible to everybody, regardless of whether you have a business or not. And then I really want to help you fully embrace the idea that you don't need to be an expert. This isn't about teaching you how to be an expert. We're going to teach you how to be okay with not being an expert and still do a really good fucking job. Okay. That's really important. Another thing is I want you to become someone that truly gets outside of that comfort zone. And this is why I think that this program will be very beneficial, because getting outside your comfort zone, yes, you can do it on your own. I believe that you can. You can go create a comfort zone checklist on your own. But to have the accountability to make sure that you do it in the beginning when it's scary, all we need to do, it's like when you have training wheels. That's why I like help getting people in programs, because you have training wheels on your bike. And in the beginning, like you do need those training wheels, but then you take them off. I want to help be the training wheels, but then I want to be able to set you off into the sunset so you can do it on your own, right? And so we want to help you create that self accountability. And then I want to help you show up as your authentic self. We've already talked about this. Take the mask off. Yes, we love that. So that should say interact, but so you can work with, date, interact, enjoy the kind of people that you truly want to be around. And so you can drop the mask. Again, be around the people. So it's much more fun, much less stress-free, because when you feel like you have to be a certain person, it's exhausting. It makes you feel all the things that we talked about in the beginning. And the last thing is I want you to be able to set yourself up for success. We obviously want you to make more money, regardless of whether you have a business, because you can make more money at your job. If you do a better job, not by being an expert, but by spending energy on the things that are more important, so you can show up in a much more fun, less stress-free way. It's just going to be better. Like, this isn't a dress rehearsal. Okay. Like, this is our one chance. That doesn't mean you have to push yourself and be crazy, but you do want to show up and do the things that you need to do. So it's pretty simple. It is 6 weeks, and it's going to be a mixture of an online course combined with a call. So it'll be an online hub, and I'm only doing 2 dripped out videos. So if you're unfamiliar with what dripped out means, that means that you only get access to the videos in that week. And so you won't be able to access you're not going to be somebody who's going to speed through the course, because I want to hold you accountable. I want to make sure that you're actually implementing and not just mentally masturbating by watching videos faster because you think you're going to like see success sooner. Not up in here. You only get 2 videos a week, and they're going to be under 20 minutes, and they're going to include exercise and homework. This isn't like you're writing a 10-page thesis. This is literally just going to be doing all the things that we talked about on this workshop, plus some more, to make sure that you're implementing and you're integrating, not just talking about imposter syndrome and shifting perspectives. Nothing wrong with shifting perspectives, but this is not what this course is about. We're going to shift perspectives, but we're also going to take action in order to shift what's actually going on internally. There's also going to be a workbook that you're going to have to accompany the program, all that fun stuff. And then we're going to have one live group call. This isn't going to be teaching. I mean, I'll probably end up teaching on the call, but this is going to be for accountability. So we're all going to hop on and we're going to say, how did we do with the homework? Let's share. It's going to be like unmuting and chatting and like very mastermindy. And like, this is what I struggled with this week. This is how imposter syndrome came up for me. And I think this is always beneficial in any area. But when it comes to imposter syndrome, hearing other people talk about the same shit that you're struggling with, I think it helps so much, because how much of imposter syndrome is comparing yourself to other people. And when you have the proof that we just talked about of like, oh, okay, I'm not the only one. Even though you know you're not the only one, you're on a call with a bunch of other people. It just makes a huge difference. And so there's going to be some pre-recorded tough love pep talk audios that you can download like to your phone, whatever, and you can listen to them. It's just going to be me in your ear being like, hey, bitch, do not be mean to yourself. I mean, it's not, it's going to be a little bit better than that, but it's going to be like things like that. It's going to be like 2-3 minutes. They're not going to be long. I have audios like this in my Tough Love Collective curriculum, and I love those. So I wanted to add them in here as well. They're going to be brand new ones, but there's also going to be a VIP option. You obviously don't have to do it, but if you want, throughout the 6 weeks, you'll get private Voxer mentorship. So just Monday through Friday, you get access to me through chat. Voxer is just like WhatsApp messaging app. That's all it is. So we can do voice message. We can go back and forth, especially if you have a business. We can chat about whatever you want. I had a mentor once that like I joined her group, and because her group was only about sales, I wasn't allowed to ask anything else. So if even though I paid for VIP, I wasn't allowed to ask about questions on social media, and I wasn't allowed to ask about anything else. In this mentorship, you're paying for it. You can ask me whatever the hell you want. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to only be about imposter syndrome. So know that that's also a bonus as well. And then for entrepreneurs, I'm adding an add-on, which I'm going to send the link in the chat. You'll also get an email, but there'll be an add-on if you want to get like a social media overhaul, which essentially this is, I'm going to look at your entire Instagram, look at your bio. I'm going to give you a worksheet for ideal client, and essentially look at your captions, your content, the quality, and be like, here's what I would recommend you do differently. And I'm going to have you fill out a form so I can know what your goals are and what you're looking for. So that's going to be an additional amount, and that's only $57. So I'm just saying, it's really not that much. So these are the weeks. You don't really need to know this. You're going to get into it. The first 3 weeks are going to be focused on moving through the imposter syndrome. The last 3 weeks are going to be focused on embracing your authentic self. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. So the original price was $797. I knocked it down to $497. That's going to be the price when I launch this on social media. It is not on social media until Monday. Only you guys have access to it. But because y'all are here, and then if you're watching the recording, you have 4 days to take advantage of this. You can get this whole course basically for 250, which is fucking insane. Like I talked to a lot of my entrepreneur friends and I was figuring out the pricing for this. And I was like, I want to make this like very accessible. Like I was thinking about like charging more and I was like, I just want to make this very accessible. You're getting the whole course. You have that for life. You're getting the live calls. But it will bump up to $497 on Sunday. First night bonus. If you sign up tonight, it has to be tonight, not tomorrow at like 2 a.m., like tonight. And so only you guys that are like on this live or like happen to see the email, you're going to get a free social media overhaul. Or if you're somebody who does not have a business and you're like, girl, I don't care about that. You'll just get, I don't know why that said free or just to say free 30-minute one-on-one call. Those are only 10 spots. So only 10 of those will go out. So you can either get, you're not going to get both. So, oh, I guess, never mind. There's a get social media overhaul bonus for free. Sorry, I can't even read my own presentation. So you can choose either one of those, whichever one you want, doesn't matter to me. And then all weekend long before Sunday, these are all just bonuses. So you're also going to get the discounted price. You're also going to get it. And these are only 10 spots for this last one. But this one as well. I have a fucking fearless masterclass. I have a bunch of masterclasses, but I think this one pairs well with what we're doing in imposter syndrome. And then you're also going to access to my Tough Love Collective curriculum, which is like my online main course where it's business basics, mindset basics, habits basics, all of that stuff. So that's like, this is like over $1,000 value and you're getting all of that just if you sign up in the next 4 days. You don't have to. So VIP option. And if anybody has any questions, ask them because we're basically finishing up here. And then I'm going to do a giveaway because I'm giving away a VIP spot here on the call. Actually, yeah, you know what? We're just going to do it on the call. I'll do another giveaway, but I'm going to give away a VIP option or a VIP spot on the call to those of you that are actually on live. And then we'll do one giveaway just for a regular spot with the people who do entries, which again, to remind you, if you want to be entered in to possibly win that, take a picture if you haven't yet and share it on your story that you're here. Oh my gosh, Alexis is so cool. She's the coolest person ever. Just kidding. And like just tag me so I can see it and then you'll be entered in and we'll do another giveaway through email and I'll send an email and we'll say who wins for that. So VIP option, again, this is absolutely insane. I have a 2-week Voxer intensive that is the same price as this. So you're getting the entire course, everything I just shared for $657, which is also crazy. You don't have to do it, but it's there. There are only 4 spots for this. So, and this price will also bump up to $857 on Sunday as well. Okay, cool. I think that's pretty much it. Yes. So this is the last thing. This is just something I wanted to let you guys know and let other people know. I talked about it on my story, but this is something that's coming up. I'm going to be doing, I think starting in June, it's ways away from now, I'm going to be doing a monthly series. So if you liked the vibe of this workshop, I'm going to be doing a workshop like this, but much more less like information and more of just like kick in the pants, wake up call. I need like my monthly Alexis to yell at me type of thing. And I'm never going to be mean. You can see I wasn't mean. I just kind of give you like the stuff you want to hear, but you might not want to hear. And so they're going to be a monthly series and they're only going to be $22 a month. You could do $100 if you want to do for 6 months or $197 for the year. I don't have anything ready for this. I'm just sharing this. If you are interested in this and you're like, I want to be a part of this, shoot me a message, shoot me a DM, shoot me an email. We can chat about this, but just know this is coming. So I just wanted to share it. So that is all I have for you. Questions, concerns, anything like that. The social media overhaul is filling out a form and getting your feedback on our social media. Yes. So what that process looks like, and that is it's like an add-on. So when you, and that's the other thing. I need to share the links in here. So this first link is the regular option. And everything is already discounted. So you don't have to do a coupon or anything like that. So if you click on that, let me just make sure the link works. I checked it 1,000 times. Yeah. So all of that's good to go. And there are payment plans as well. So you have the option to do a payment plan, which is 3 months. And there's even afterpay on this. So you could literally do this for like $60 a month, which is just absolutely insane because I use Kajabi and it's really great. So that's the regular option. And then this is the VIP. And then, so when you go to check out, actually need to, is this, okay, that's good to go. So, when you go to check out, you will get the option to, add on the social media thing. And that's only $57, which is crazy. So you'll fill out a form. That'll be like a separate process, but I'll send you a form. You'll tell me like What are your goals? What are you confused about with social media? What are you struggling with social media? Because if I don't know what like your problems are, I'm not going to be able to help you as much. But if I know that you're really struggling with X, Y, and Z, then that's going to help me. So you'll fill out a form, you'll give me your Instagram, and then I'm going to look at everything. I'm going to look at your bio, I'm going to look at your profile picture, I'm going to look at your content, your captions, your stories, your highlights. I'm going to look at everything, and I'm going to give you a checklist, but I'm also going to do a loom. If you're not familiar with what loom is, it's literally just like I record myself looking at your Instagram and talking you through it. So I'm not just going to give you a checklist of what is in it. I'm going to be showing you in real time what that looks like. So you're going to get a checklist, and you're going to get a loom video with all of that information if you do the social media upgrade. Can you summarize what is included if we sign up tonight? Yes, I definitely can. So, let me go back. I'll just share my screen because I know I'm a visual person, so it just makes it easier instead of me trying to not do that. Okay, cool. So again, price is $248.50 for the next 4 days. It's going to bump up to $497, and there's payment plans, even payment plans for all of this stuff. So I think this is like ends up being like $80 for 3 months, which is crazy. So if you sign up tonight, you're going to get either the option of the social media overhaul for free, because it's a $57 add-on, but you can get it for free if you sign up. But there's only 10 spots. So as soon as those are gone, I'm assuming they're going to go pretty quickly, especially once I send the email out. So you'll either get social media overhaul or a 30-minute one-on-one call. You can't get both, but you can get one. You get to pick, only if you sign up tonight. And so then all weekend long up until Sunday, you will also get access to my fucking Fearless Masterclass, which is essentially, it's just, there's about, I believe there's like 3 videos, and it's just essentially showing up fucking fearless. Like it's pretty straightforward, but you're going to get it as a bonus. You're not buying it. So I'm not really getting into it, but it's an awesome masterclass. And then you're going to get access to the Tough Love Collective curriculum, which is 46 plus videos. There's business basics, habits basics, mindset basics, like how to set up your morning routine, everything from how to set up your morning routine to how to have better habits to like how to create a program. Like it's like simple, straightforward stuff. It's not like a full blown thing, but it's like how to show up better on social media. So there is some business basics. Even if you don't have a business, it's still there. You're still going to get it. So that's pretty much it. So the discounted price, the option of a social media overall, or the 30-minute call, and then you get these bonuses as well. Again, all of these are limited spots. So they're not just like everybody gets them. If these spots get filled, they're gone. And if they're not, then they'll still be available to you. And those bonuses, the first night bonus and the weekend bonus, are only here. So if you decide to sign up on Monday, yeah, you're still going to get a decent price, but you're not going to get any of those bonuses. So awesome. I know. I wanted, it's been a while since I wanted to do it with my last program, and I just didn't. And I was like, you know what? I think there's so many people that are struggling with imposter syndrome. I just wanted to make this like really accessible. And it doesn't mean you're not going to get value. Hopefully you got value out of a free thing, so you can understand that regardless of whether this is a, a decent price, you're still going to get insane value in the 6-week course. And this does not start until May. So just know that. The May 6th, I'm going to be sending out like, emails and things like that, but we're going to get started. I'm going to have everybody already in everything probably the week before. So in, 3+ weeks, we'll be kind of kicking things off, but like the course won't start until May 6th. Do we get access to the program for specific time? Lifetime. A lot of people do the whole, like, you're only going to get access for a certain amount of time, and then I'm going to take it away to like get you to be more accountable and get it done, which I do think that can be helpful, but I just don't like the idea of having you pay for something. And then like, what if life happens? What if like crazy things happen and you don't get a chance to do it? You know what I mean? So you have lifetime access to that. And you'll also get lifetime access to the recording of the live coaching calls after the program, of course, and you'll get them during, but yeah. Okay, cool. Any other questions, concerns, things? Yeah. And you can always shoot me a message, DM me on Instagram, shoot me an email if you have any questions about anything at all. Yeah. What's up, Stella? Yeah. Unmute yourself. Go ahead.
So this is something that I've wondered about that I haven't heard about or heard talked about that often. It's something, I don't know, I'm curious to hear if you've thought about this in terms of imposter syndrome. What about the times where we experience imposter syndrome and it is like this strange jumble of, like, maybe deep down there could be, it is a blown up iteration of something that holds like a little bit of truth. like
Yes.
something where maybe I know deep down I could have done a little better, or maybe I should be a little more informed. And you kind of know somewhere that you maybe dropped the ball a little bit, or there could be something that you could be doing better, and you allow this to kind of like balloon up, right? And like
Yeah.
overtake. And it's hard to be like, so because of that, it stops you from being able to like, oh, wipe it all away, conquer, like get rid of it all. It's all a lie. It's all in your head kind of thing. Cause there's like that little nagging bit that goes, nah, I kind of feel like there is just that little grain of truth to it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's such a great topic to bring up, and this is definitely something that we're going to go over in the course, because like I mentioned in the workshop, the goal is not to like teach you how to not, or how to be an expert. The goal is how to teach you how to like not be the best and not be an expert and fuck up and fail and do all of those things and still show up anyway. And so 100% understand what you're saying when there is like some truth to it. I talk to my clients a lot about like when we're working through limiting beliefs, for example, they might have a limiting belief that they're not organized. And like but the when we're navigating a limiting belief, it might be like maybe you're not that organized, but the
Right.
idea isn't when you have a limiting belief, oh, I can admit that I'm not that organized, but when we have a limiting belief, we look at it in extremes. We catastrophize and we look at it as like, I'm always going to be disorganized for the rest of my life and I'm never going to change. And this is always how I am. And oh my God, look. And we like, that's when we do the whole blowing it up thing. So I think the best version of you going back to like the always wanting to be, never wanting to be the smartest person in the room and always wanting to be a student, if you can accept that like, there can be some truth. Maybe you're a nurse and you just started working somewhere and you made a mistake. I'm not like you killed a patient or something, but like I mean, who knows? But like something happens and like you don't do your job. That does not have to, it's like that equal sign with the line through it. It does not have to equal that you are an imposter and that you're never going to be good at your job. I think what I want to help people do is be able to, we're going to like navigate all the things that we talked about, but we also want to be able to navigate you making mistakes and failing. And it's kind of going back to like my one mastermind I just did, Fuck the Fear of Failure, where we're going to do something that I call a failure resume, but where you can look at the failures and instead of internalizing it and making it be a big thing and allowing it to mess up, it's like you take responsibility and you're like, yeah, I fucked that up, but like, let's get excited for like how I can do it better. It's the whole idea of when we were in school, you get an F, you hide it from your parents, you don't want them to see it. Like, what if in school we were taught that like when we got an F, like we all rallied around and we're like, okay, I got an F on this report. Like, what can I do better? And like we just took that approach instead of the approach of like, it's the end of the world. Oh my God, it's the worst thing. And so like that's the biggest thing. It's like you can not have done a good job, but it doesn't have to equal that you're a failure, that you're this, that you're that. And so it's just changing the way you handle it from this like place of I'm a failure to more of like a badass being like, oh yeah, that didn't go well, but like I'm gonna do a better job, and not from a place of now I have to overcompensate. Does all of that make sense?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
And we'll dive into like that way more, but that was a great question. I love that. Will you give us the add-on access on your end? How would that work? I'm obviously extremely interested. Yeah, so that's going to be something that I have to do. Like when I see the things come through, I'll check in the morning tomorrow because I don't have anything to do, so I'll be looking through that. So you won't get access immediately, but I will go through the list of people that purchased, and then I'll be sending out emails with the form for you to fill out. So if you do that in the next 4 days, you will get a form definitely before Monday. If not the same day that you purchased or tomorrow, so you might not get it like immediately because I will be doing it manually. But you'll get that because I kind of I want to have a conversation like individualized with everybody that does that. Cool. These are all great questions. Love, and all good. All questions are good questions, but okay, cool. If you have any other questions, just shoot me a message because we've already gone a little bit over time, but I appreciate you all so much for being here live. If you're watching the recording, I still love you. I hope to see you guys in the course. If you have any questions about it, please let me know. I'm an open book. You can ask me anything. And then this recording will be sent out later if you want to rewatch it. So peace out, y'all. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. I'll see you later. Have a good rest of your night. Bye, guys.
Alexis,
Yeah.
what about your giveaway?
Oh, I always do this, and there's always somebody that reminds me. LOL. Okay. Sorry for the guys that decided to hop off, but hey, you guys are still here. I always do this. I've been doing this for really, really long time, but this is where my ADHD comes in. Thanks, Nicole. So, okay, I'm going to pick, I already have the number in my head. I'm going to pick a number 1 through 100. Put your number in the chat. Anybody, whoever hits it first without going over wins. And I already have it in my head. I'm closing my eyes. If you put a number and you notice somebody else has the number, whoever put the number first, you get to have that number. The second person has to redo it. So first person who gets the closest without going over, and you get VIP spot. So you get all of the things that we talked about. Like you get it all. You get it all. Okay, cool. Make sure everybody got their numbers. I always think it's funny when somebody gets it, but okay, cool. 10 more seconds. I want to make sure everybody got it. I think everybody's in. Somebody got it. Exactly. I've never seen that happen. It's always like really, really close, but okay, cool. Wait, hold on. Oh, okay, Nicole, you had to pick a second number and your second number was it. It was 68. So you won.
No way.
Yeah.
That's
No,
crazy.
you just like got blessed because you reminded me of it. You made it happen. You manifested it. We love it. Okay, cool. That's so funny. I swear it was 68. I never lie. Okay, thank you so much for reminding me, Nicole. I really appreciate that. So we'll do another giveaway and that'll be through email. And there's not going to be anything social media related. So it's only going to be people on this or those of you that like watch this recording or check the email. And so the way to get an extra entry, because I'm going to do like a name chooser, so the more entries there, take a picture if you haven't already, share it on your story. Even if not, if like you remember or you're watching this recording, you didn't get to take a picture, I mean, you have the video so you can pause it. You can just share something, like just share anything, a takeaway. I was on Alexis's workshop and blah 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 blah. It doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be a picture of me. So anyway, thank you, Nicole, for reminding me. I really appreciate it. We'll do another giveaway through email and that'll just be all sent out through email. No, you could just do whatever, like I don't you have to post. You can post whatever. But anyway, all right. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you all. You're the best. I'll see you later. Peace out, guys.